Hey cats, it's Ed, question time, Bud here. You know, I always try and stay on top of the questions that viewers have posted in the comments. I've picked out a few select ones today. I'm going to give you my more in-depth answers. Let's get to it. Welcome to the channel, guys. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and also click the bell below for notifications when I launch the new videos for you. It also helps the channel out if you give this video a thumbs up, like, and join as a member as well. There's loads of additional perks that you get which help you to communicate with not only the viewers at home but also with me. Okay, let's get to the questions today. So Jen Blindert asks about the differences between the Rebel V2 from New Balance and the A80. I wasn't too au fait on the A80, so I did look up some of the stats. It's quite an aggressive drop on that one. I think it's like a 10mm drop compared to the much more minimal drop on the Rebel V2. The A80 uses fresh foam, which is a firmer, denser sort of material than in the Rebel V2, which has fuel cell. It's quite squashy and compressive. I think the A80 has a stretch knit upper, which is very similar to the one that I tried out on the 1080 last year. I think it's more of a daily workhorse where perhaps the Rebel might be utilised for some faster efforts. I think it's quite a bit more bulky as well. The 880 in the sample size at least is only 300 grams, so it's quite a weighty shoe, certainly in my size at least. The Rebel was like a feather compared to that. I think it was about 240 grams in my UK size 11. Less stability in the Rebel V2, a more compressive foam. So really the polar opposites, I guess, those two shoes. You've got a more substantial, firmer shoe underfoot in the 880 with a more aggressive drop, and then something with a milder drop with a much less stable sort of feel underfoot in the Rebel V2. Hope that answers your question. Here's a good one for you from Giulio Dale. I hope I've pronounced that correctly, Giulio. Sorry if I haven't. He asks if the Nike ZOOMFly 4 is different between the men's and women's version. Now, I know the Pegasus had some differences over the last couple of models. I think they adjusted the pressure of the air unit that's in the forefoot of the shoe. But with the ZOOMFly 4, I'm not entirely sure what the differences are. There's quite a pronounced arch in the ZOOMFly. Whether that's been altered in the women's version, I don't know. Seems like the shoe's pretty much identical, really. All the specs seem pretty similar. Normally, if Nike launch a unisex shoe, it will state that on the box.
Looking on the Dragonfly box here, you can see that it is a unisex track spike. So it lists both sizes on there.
I would, in this instance, Giulio, test out the shoes on foot if you can. It could be that the arch is different, or perhaps the underfoot feel is drastically changed. The base of the shoe may be a little wider, maybe even thinner in the heel, so I'd check them out in store if you can before you go for it. I think try before you buy seems the best advice here. The Summit Commando asks for where I find out about races in the UK. I think it's probably looking to sign up for some races and where's the best place to look. I always head for Facebook, really, in the first instance. That normally gives me some of the regional races at least. I am a member of a running club as well, so I get to hear about some races from other runners. They may advise me against doing some, actually, and say, just avoid that, it was not enjoyable. I think it should be about enjoyment, shouldn't it? In the past, I have used findarace.com. I know it sounds really obvious, I suppose, but it does work. You can search by a race distance, the region that you're in, and obviously by date of the event, because you don't want to do a race where you've promised your significant other that you're going to do something else. It even has triathlon and cycling events too, so pretty much all the bases are covered. Seems like a really good free resource, really, of all the races that are going on within England, certainly, and it's fairly free of ads. Sean Bogler, I'm sorry if I've got that one wrong, Sean. It's noted down on paper, and I know I still use a paper and pen. It's crazy, isn't it? Asked if I use different race shoes for different races, or do I stick to the same favourite one? In races of recent time, I've used the VAPORFLY 4% Flyknit, but also the VAPORFLY Next Percent as well. They've never failed me yet. I've never had a single issue, really, with either of those. Though in other races, I've used the Terrakiga 5 from Nike, when it's a bit more traily. It's probably one of the highest finishes I ever had in a race, actually, wearing that shoe, so that says a lot, doesn't it? I've used the Pegasus Turbo on a slightly muddier course than I expected, and the ADIOS Pro 2. I've ran half marathons in the AlphaFly as well. I think that'll probably be my go-to marathon shoe if I was to run one tomorrow, which I'm not going to do. Maybe a park run tomorrow. I might take the camera and see what I've got. Test the old speed with a little bit of competition around. You know, park run's not a race, but with some competition, I think it always is healthy. I think for the other distances, it's very much down to terrain. What have you got underfoot? If it's gravel, paths, grass, You need something that's going to work. So I think probably outsole versatility is one of the things I always look for in a shoe. With the weather in the UK, you never quite know what's going to happen. You can have blistering sunshine at the start of a race and then be hit by hailstones later on. I've raced in the snow in February before, and then blistering sunshine in September. So yeah, you have to be prepared underfoot as to what's going to happen. Outsole grip's always my main consideration, I think, with any race. In terms of all of the things put together though, there's not an awful lot that comes close to the ADIOS Pro 2. I don't know why, but that really cat tongue like outsole just seems to do the trick on practically everything. Strangely tactile. Michael Ryan has asked for recommendations for a 5 to 10k race shoe across grass, muddy fields and gravel paths. Wow. So you want something light and nimble. You know, not many trail shoes are that, are they? They always seemed a bit more beefed up in terms of the upper. Here it seems like we need something that's just got the outsole grip, but a little less up the top. Perhaps a nice low profile option if it's not too muddy could be the ADIDAS ADIZERO Takumi Sen 7. I mean, it's not going to work if it's a total mudfest, but it's got the outsole grip and the lugs there to provide you with some good traction. Otherwise, I think a more conventional trail shoe will need to be used here. Quite a few viewers suggested the Salomon Ultra Glide. That seems to be a good sort of middle ground between having some really good traction but not a really chunky and overly present upper. Maybe you could look at the Innovate G270 as well. That has a good balance once again between that outsole grip and upper. You don't want loads of midsole stack here for a 5 to 10k. It's just simply not going to be needed. So I think one of those beasts might be the right one for the trail. Hope this helps, Michael. Best of luck. Carl Stokes has a question about the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite and the Next Percent. He's asked if I've compared it. I think I did some time back. I'll put a card up on the screen if I can remember to do so. There's quite a difference in stack here, Carl, between the two shoes. The Puma for me is probably more of a half marathon shoe, with the VAPORFLY being perhaps more towards the marathon. You got that extra cushion there. Do you really need it for a half marathon? Probably not. I think as you get into the latter stages of that marathon, you might be quite glad to have a little bit more ZOOMX underneath your foot. I have to say that the Next Percent does feel a little bit more propulsive to me than the Puma. But then again, the Puma's got a little bit of a weight advantage on the Next Percent. Plus the fact you can actually buy the VAPORFLY Next Percent as well. The Puma's really hard to get hold of right now, and they know it. Hope that helps, Carl. Last up is the long-time viewer Daryl Wild. He's asked whether you should pick up the Invincible Run Flyknit from Nike or the Adidas PRIMEX for a recovery shoe. I think the sheer stack here, Daryl, of the Adidas shoe just means I wouldn't use it perhaps just as a recovery shoe. I think you need your wits about you a little bit with the PRIMEX. It's so high. If you put one wrong foot down on a, I don't know, a divot or a hole, or you step off the curb without looking, it could be curtains. And certainly no night running in the PRIMEX. You really need to be able to see what you're doing, see what's ahead of you, planning out where you're going to step. I don't think it'd be all that safe in that skyscraper of a shoe. As such, for a recovery option, I think the sub 100 Earth Credit Invincible Run is the way to go. More stable and safer option, help you get you out the door. I think that could be my recommendation here. Yes, it's a bit heavier, but that slab of ZOOMX underfoot really is very forgiving. I can see it working superbly as a recovery shoe over the PRIMEX. Okay, thanks for all the questions, cats. I hope I've answered them to the best of my ability, because that's all you can ever ask for, right? If someone gives you 100%, you can't ask for any more. Keep the questions coming in the comments, and I'll do my best. Maybe I can make this into a regular weekly series. Musical interlude time. Now, if you've been outside here in the UK recently and maybe heading off to work, going to the park, going to the shops, you would have been walking out to winter. Reminds me of that fantastic album from Aztec Camera from 1983 called Highland Hard Rain. A wonderful album, this one, some beautiful acoustic guitar tones. Singer-songwriter Roddy Frame was at the head of Aztec Camera and he knew how to play that guitar. Still does, actually. In fact, Roddy Frame's probably one of the most underrated guitar players that I can think of right now. I love the Stomping Boy Wonders, great track. And Walk Out to Winter has got a jazzy vibe about it almost. The production though really works as well, because it does make you feel a little bit chilly, but never too cold. Track 5, We Could Send Letters. Wow, what a song. It's beautiful. Clearly all about somebody considering like this long distance relationship, saying that they could keep sending letters to each other and carry it on, make it happen. you know, and a day before text messages or email and all that type of stuff. It's quite a romantic song, and it has the most wonderful guitar solo you will ever hear. It literally is one of the greatest that there is for melody. It's like a roller coaster of emotion. I really like the acoustic Down the Dip as well later on in the album. I do have a VHS somewhere of Roddy Frame performing with Aztec Camera around this period. He's playing this big ES-295 Gibson. It just sounds amazing. Go and check this one out, guys. Perhaps if you're in a much warmer country, you can feel what we feel here in the UK when it gets a little bit cooler, but not too cold. Aztec Camera's Highland Hard Rain. Right, it's time for me to mosey on out there. Thanks for sticking with me to the end of the video. I always appreciate it, guys. Remember, you can help the channel out by buying some merch from the links below, and also join and become a member of Eddbud Running Shoe Reviews. Get lots of additional perks, so you can contact me and the viewers. Hit the sub button, hit the bell, and also give this video a thumbs up like. My name's Eddbud, and I'll be seeing you